A couple of days ago, I live streamed a Stadia Pro Showcase of the January Pro games, and it went a bit wrong. I don't know what happened. Partway through playing Hotline Miami, YouTube suddenly decided to disconnect. I still don't know what happened, but I think it might have been my foot pressing against the keyboard. So this time, I'm going to take my keyboard, I'm going to put it away from my feet, I'm going to play the other games. So let's get into them. Move on to what is, of course, the game I'm most excited about coming to Stadia Pro this month, F1 2020. Now, this is a game you won't see the important safety information for Stadia popping up, because I bought this day one when it came out in July, about a month after the actual F1 2020 season started. So, because I am a massive F1 fan and have been since 2002, almost 20 years now. I'm really enjoying playing the latest game on Google Stadia. I won't be going through any multiplayer modes or indeed the My Team career. What I'll do is I'll show you probably something that not everyone might have spotted yet. Obviously, when I started out as a content creator, I did the F2 challenge, a series of 5-lap races across all the F1 tracks in the F2 cars. I'm going to go for a Grand Prix. That was a Grand Prix that I did a while ago, I think. So I'm going to start a new one. I'm going to use the classic cars. Now, if you're an older F1 fan, you'll remember some of these cars. The 1988 Mclaren MP4 was one of the most dominant F1 cars ever, driven by Ayrton Senna and Alan Prost. You've got Michael Schumacher's first car, the 1992 Williams, which is a car that Nigel Mansell won a championship in, the two Benettons that Michael Schumacher won championships in the 90s with. Again, he won it in Ferrari in the year 2000. The R26, which I believe is the successor to the F1 car that you'll find on the game grid. Braun GP, the team that is now Mercedes was known as Braun GP in 2009. They won the championship in their only year of competition. It goes up to the 2010 Red Bull racing car, which comes with the 2010 McLaren and the 2010 Ferrari. Three very fast cars, all fighting for the championship that year. I'm going to drive the 2003 Williams. I'm going to drive it. I think I'll drive it round. Won't do France. That's quite a boring track. I'll do it around Spa, because Spa's always a fun track to do. I'll do Suzuka as well, and then Mexico, 2003 Brazilian Grand Prix. I'll do it around Brazil as well. 2003 Brazilian Grand Prix was a brilliant race. Fully recommend watching it if you're able to. Race distance, we'll go 5 laps. Now bump AI driver level down to 81. Practice type, you can customize just about anything. So I'm going to go. I'm not going to do any practice. I'll go for a short one-shot qualifying, which means you get 1 lap to run, and qualifying, depending on how fast your lap time is, will depend on where you start on the grid. If you want to get into the My Team career mode, then you'll have all sorts of stuff like running your own team, taking part in interviews. That's brilliant, but I really wouldn't suggest starting with that mode. It's very heavy. It's designed for, well, people like me, people who are really big F1 fans and enjoy the idea of managing their own team on the grid. So you see, it was raining at the Belgian track, so I'll be fitting the wet tyres on, and I think I'll also be going for some increased downforce. Okay, go to the track. But listen to that sound. This isn't the sound of the current F1 cars, of course. This is 2003, so this car has a V10, and I believe this was roughly the era. Absolute joy to listen to these cars again. These cars actually, I think, hit 20,000 revs per minute. As you can see, I'm not good in the wet at all. I'm going to hope that it's a dry race. Even with maximum downforce, I'm not doing too well. Currently in P17 on the live standings. Now it could also be that some of the cars are faster than others. I can't remember if I put equal car performance on or realistic. I think it's on realistic, which means 2003 Williams isn't the fastest of a lot. There are slower cars out there. Generally, as a rule, the later the car was brought out, the faster it is. Not always true. You probably will find the 92 Williams is faster than a lot of the other cars. I think the fastest car is actually the 2004 Ferrari, with which Michael Schumacher won his 7th and final world title with. I'm going to use a flashback because I was talking and I messed up that corner. Braking into the corner, trying to keep it straight when you accelerate away. It seems I am well behind Kaufmann, who's currently in pole position. Slight lift up through Blanchimont as we head into the bus stop chicane, final 2 corners of the lap. Cutting that one nicely, hitting the apex, qualifying complete. First guy has crossed the line. We're going to go straight across the line, and I think we end up in 16th. Not the best qualifying, but it's all about what happens in the race. Points are never scored in qualifying, but always scored in the race. So if you have a bad qualifying, don't worry about it. Let's see. So we have 2010 Mclaren on pole. Looking further down, there is another Mclaren 2003 Williams in the race, which I was faster than, which is always good. The same car will often have the same performance. So to beat your teammate or someone in the same car as you, that's always your aim. You might not be at the top, but if you're beating the same car, beating someone driving the same car, that really helps. Now, hopefully, it's a dry race. It is.
Okay, here we go.
Park thermometer was on, so I had downforce all the way through. This is going to be a tough race. Spa is normally a fast track. You'll see a lot of long straights, and for that you want lower downforce. Lower downforce gives you a higher top speed in the straights, but it means you won't be as glued to the track in the corners. It's all dependent on how many straights there are compared to how many corners. And in Spa, it's typically a lower downforce track. Other lower downforce tracks will include Monza. Mexico might look like a lower downforce track. It's not. I will explain why. Actually, I think I explained why in the F2 Challenge video, so go back and watch them. Now, wait for the 5 lights to go off, and we're away. Got a much better start compared to that Renault in front of us. Don't worry, you will learn the car names eventually. And that Ferrari, oh, that red Ferrari, the red Ferraris are easy to spot. You'll work those out easily. We've got a warning for our collision with Lawson. And up through Eau Rouge, which is flat out because we're in a high downforce car. Now, because we're in a high downforce car, we're going to have to take a lot more speed into the corners in order to keep up. got to warn you guys, I don't think this is going to be a particularly high-scoring race for us.
Okay, that's a good start. Keep it up.
Maybe the next race will, or maybe I'll just be able to... Oh. See, I dropped a wheel on the grass, didn't get the acceleration I wanted through that corner. I'm going to try using the names. That was Rivage we had the problems with. This is Pouhon. This corner. Spelled P-O-U-H-O-N. Stop giggling. Oh, I used to know that corner. I don't anymore. I believe this one is actually called... No, it's not. This is... That's something else. So, each track is split into 3 sectors, and in Spa, in the Belgian track, it's actually very, very intuitive. The first and third sectors are majority straight lines, apart from in the third sector you've got Blanchimont, we just went through, and as I mentioned earlier, the bus stop chicane, the final chicane on the lap. Lewis Hamilton will tell you, be careful if you cut in the corner there. And across the line. So at the start of that, you've got La Source. La Source is an interesting corner. You can take just about any line through it, doesn't really matter. But you need to make sure you've got a good exit because you will be flat out, down the straight through Eau Rouge, Radillon at the top there. And then you duck into the slipstream and you should be able to breeze past someone in the slipstream. And that is your best opportunity at overtaking, assuming you're racing people who are clean. Now in multiplayer lobbies, people are a bit more unpredictable, so you never quite know what's going on. I'm sure a lot of people who've raced F1 2020 probably are aware now. The multiplayer lobbies, people can be a bit more unpredictable. It's more for a laugh in multiplayer lobbies. There are leagues and societies and communities that will do proper races where the rules will be a lot more strictly enforced. I'm wondering if I can get past and possibly into the top 10. Now, in this game, points are awarded for the top 10. So you have 25 points for the win, 18 for second, 15 for third, 12 for 4th, 5th for 10th, then 8, 6, 4, 2 and 1 for 10th. And also if you set the fastest lap of the race, then you will get a bonus point so long as you're within the top 10. So you could get a maximum of 26 points per race. Next thing I'm going to do is teach you about fuel mix. So the fuel mix will automatically put you in standard, but you are given some spare fuel to get through the race on. I suggest moving up into rich mix for a little bit.
Great maneuver. You made it look easy.
I assure you it wasn't. So it's stuck behind a 2010 Ferrari now. Don't worry, you will start to learn the differences between the cars. Oh, bad exit out of that corner. It means we've got the 2007 Ferrari alongside us. Having to be a little bit harsh cutting him off. The number next to fuel mix, you'll see it says plus 0.6. That is how many extra laps worth of fuel you have. Now standard mode will typically use the amount of fuel you're expecting, unless you're a bit more aggressive on the throttle like I am. You can put it down into lean mode, which will typically use less fuel, or as I demonstrated earlier in this lap, you can put it into rich mix. Talking through that corner again, wasn't I? But of course, if you run out of fuel by the end of the race, or before the end of the race, that's a very bad thing to do. just sent one down the inside into that chicane because I had to. That's a bad choice, and I'm gonna I'll demonstrate why in a minute. I need to get a very good exit through here, and I'm gonna put it into rich mix. Now, fuel is mostly used during acceleration, so you can go at 200 miles an hour at the end of this straight and not use too much fuel. But the acceleration out of the hairpin that we had about 10 seconds ago, that's what uses up the fuel. So brake there, and for acceleration here, that's what's using up the fuel. You see the number going down. I'm going to put it back into standard because I think I'm safe now. I thought I was going to be in danger of the guy behind slipstreaming and getting past us down that straight. It turns out we were okay, although he's not exactly a long way behind us, so I might have to be quiet through those corners. He's trying at the inside. We shut the door on him. Thankfully he doesn't spin out. That would have been very unfortunate. I'm an honest man, I want a clean race. Here we go. I'm also going to put it in rich. I'm going to put it in rich mix from now until basically the end of that long straight that I keep talking about, Kemmel Straight, as it's known. Got a decent exit out chicane. I'm not going to be troubling the top 10, unfortunately. Into the hairpin. Hairpin, increasing my gap, you can see, and it's at 0.7, 0.75, 0.78. A slight corner cut rally on. But again, top speed, and you see it's not changing my my fuel delta, my fuel surplus too much. I'm going to keep it in rich mix throughout the rest of this until I see it start to go down quite close to zero. Now you can change the fuel mix by using the left and right directional buttons, which are different to the joystick. Don't worry, you won't be steering your car into a wall because you're trying to change the fuel mix. And later cars, the modern F1 cars, will have what's called ERS and DRS. ERS is helpfully called ERS. DRS isn't called Doctors. It's just called DRS, or the drag reduction system. You see there, 2004 Ferrari winning the race. 2004 Ferrari was incredibly fast. Again, one of the most dominant cars of all time. Michael Schumacher winning his final World Championship in that. I think he actually clinched it at the Belgian Grand Prix. There we go, across the line, finishing 11th, which considering we started 16th, I think that's very good. I'm very happy with that. And Lucas Roth gets driver of the day. One of the many AI drivers in this race. Lucas Roth actually ends up winning that race. You see, we started 11th, and our fastest lap was quite good. Around us, the driver in front of us had a fastest lap with 3/10 slower than us. Driver behind us, a couple of tenths slower than us. At the front there, Lucas Roth with a 1:48, 4 seconds of that faster than us. We weren't going to get that. Codemasters have released videos of how to best set up the AI so that it's challenging for you. I'm challenged typically when it's around 80 to 85 on the AI difficulty. I'll give you a handy little guide of how fast each level is compared to each other level. We move into Suzuka for the next 5-lap race. And Suzuka, people might remember this track from Grid. It's also been in plenty of other racing games. It's a very famous racetrack in Japan. Had a few good races of its own. I talked about Senna and Prost earlier on. People who were alive or F1 fans in the late 80s and early 90s will remember a couple of incidents between Ayrton Senna and Alain Prost. One where they were teammates and crashed into each other, where both events decided the championship. I got distracted. I was looking at my phone. I shouldn't have done that. The good thing is you can use flashbacks. Can you? Can you use flashbacks? Oh, it's X for flashback. I thought it was Y. So again, I'm not expecting a good qualifying, but you saw I was able to make up positions in the race. What I really use qualifying for at the moment is to get a good idea of how the car handles. Maybe if I can make it a bit higher than 16th on the grid. Suzuka driving through Spoon Curve now. And you look at the map, and again I've just, because I've been talking, I've ran wide on the exit. But Spoon Curve, as you'll see as we come up to it again, it's named that because, well, it looks a little bit like a spoon on the map. This time getting the exit, not running on the curb, a little bit wary of that now. Nice and wide into the entry to 130R. We go over the bridge, 130R. I should have actually turned for that. And then into the chicane, which is where Senna and Prost as teammates crashed. If you were watching on the numbers there, I was up to 11th braking for chicane, braking very late, getting it right, but acceleration isn't the strong point of this car. And run down to the line, I lost it all the way back down to 16th. I want to see how close it was. So 11th was a 135.4, we were 136.0, so about half a second between myself and 11th. I reckon a top 10 is possible this time, but it's going to be very difficult to overtake at the right moments. And the straights aren't as long here, but because it was dry, I did decide I was going to use a bit more top speed, a bit less downforce. Here we go. So again, park firmly. You see with preset 4, it will give you 5 presets, from preset 1 being maximum downforce to preset 5 being maximum top speed. Obviously you still get a fair amount of top speed from the maximum downforce, but not as much. And obviously you still get some downforce from the maximum top speed, but not as much. In the wet, you always want to go for higher downforce because you'll need more grip around the corners. You can also change things like traction control. So I'm not going to go flat out on the accelerator all the way through that countdown because that does decrease my fuel mix. That's a little trick that not everyone has quite worked out yet. Oh, banging wheels with, I think that was our teammate, Calabresi. There we go, up into 40th, going through turn 1. And now into the S's. Again, so cool because, well, make S and S around. And go left, right, great test of aerodynamics on the cars. These two corners are called Degner 1 and Degner 2. Don't ask me why, I can't remember. I shouldn't have been talking there. I'm going to do a flashback. So this is Dunlop curve right here, and then Degner 1, bit of curve on the exit, and Degner 2. We've got someone behind us. We've got this little corner before the corner. I absolutely hate on every single driving game I've ever done on this track. I cannot get the hang of that tight hairpin.
All right, we're looking good so far.
Jeff, our engineer, saying we're looking good so far. We've made positions up on this from our starting position. It's always good. You always want to try and overtake rather than be overtaken. And this time we're going to show you what 130R should be like. Now, 130R normally isn't an overtaking corner, and it's not this time. I've missed my turning point again. Braked a little bit earlier because I thought if I brake as late as I did in qualifying, I'm going to go straight into the back of the guy in front of me. But it looks like 14th might be where we have to settle for this race. So turns 1 and 2 are done. There you go. The start of the S's. Now this is where downforce is important. I've not gone for downforce this time, I've gone for the top speed. Mostly because I want to try and get the overtakes done. And if you're faster in a straight line, it's a lot easier to overtake, so I want to give myself the best opportunity for that. Obviously in real life, this car never raced against the likes of the cars in front of it. They were in different years. F1 cars are pretty much new each year. This one's from 2003. I think the car in front is the 2006 Renault. Might look similar. In fact, that Renault's got a V8 engine in it. I think it was one of the first cars to have a V8 engine. Won the championship in the hands of Fernando Alonso, beating Michael Schumacher in what was at the time his final year as a Ferrari driver. We are getting a lot of slipstream. Keep it in the lines. That is how 130R is taken, and we're going to brake late down the inside, run it wide in the second part of the chicane to make sure we're ahead.
Good job, nice overtake.
That was a brilliant overtake. Absolutely loved that one. We'll have more of those, please. Didn't think I was going to be able to overtake anyone. Looks like there's a bit of a slow moving car in 10th, backing everyone back behind him, which is good news for us because that of course bunches the pack up, increases the gap between 10th and 9th. But whilst we're trying to catch up to 12th, having the guy in 10th back everyone up is very useful to us. It gives us an opportunity to catch up. It also means they're going to be a little bit slower. Oh, through that. So cycling through the menus there. I'm going to put it into rich mix. I'm not going to see much benefit out of it at the moment. I've got a large braking point there. Oh, I'm spinning it. Ah, that's spun. And I can feel the grip go away. I think my tyres just touched the grass on entrance. There's obviously less grip on the grass. As you can see there, my front tyre's got on the grass even.
Our gap to the car in front is 1.9 seconds.
looks like we're going to be fighting off World Muller for the majority of this. Now, using the rich mix through this section of track,
By about 3/10 a lap.
it's a bit harder because, of course, you're accelerating a lot more. So you use a lot more fuel. I don't think we'll be able to push up. In fact, what I said was happening 10th is going to 12th. I think we're doing to the guys behind us. You see that line of cars. They're just forming up because they can't overtake. Not because they're not allowed to, but it is very difficult to overtake in F1 these days. They are looking to improve that over the next couple of years. Watch out for F1 in 2022. The cars will look very different, even to how they look now. A lot of people setting fastest laps in front of us at 1:33s. We're stuck at 1:36, our best lap time.
This is your final lap of the race.
And even in rich mix, which is faster normally, as long as you drive it well enough. So I think the driver will still make a difference, as I've just done there. I hope Duncan's not watching this. I'm not perfect. I never claimed to be a perfect driver. I'm not even the best driver I know at this track, at this game. Really, there are plenty of people who drive a lot better than me. I like to think I'm one of the faster content creators out of there, but having said that, seeing the likes of Eddie and Jem racing on games like seeing Eddie on this game and Jem on Crew 2, it'd be quite fun to get a Content Creators Cup going in the various racing games. You got this, you got Grid, MotoGP 20 is racing bikes, which I've not actually played yet. Still waiting for it to go on sale. I don't think MotoGP 20 has ever been on sale. Correct me if I'm wrong. Of course, if it does go on sale, the second it does, I will be buying it. Crossing the bridge. Oh, the Braun GP car won that one. Very interesting and not necessarily something I expected. Oh, I shouldn't have talked during the middle of the chicane. But it's alright. Go behind our teammate, in fact, in the same car as ours.
Race over. Take care of the car.
Gets past us after the line, but it doesn't really matter. But 13th in that race. I think that was good. I think our one overtake that we had on that Renault going into the chicane was absolutely spot on. Really enjoyed that move. And so we go into the final one. The 2003 Brazilian Grand Prix was spectacularly wet and featured a lot of crashes, including one which stopped the race early. And the story goes that the referees, the people who award the winners, actually gave it to the wrong person because they miscounted the number of laps. But I'm going to go out. I'm going to go with the normal setup this time, and go in. So first corner is the Senna S, named after Ayrton Senna, the famous Brazilian driver I've mentioned already a few times. And turn 3, Descida de Largo. Now in the modern day F1, this is actually that was actually the DRS straight we've just gone down, which will, if you're within a second of the car in front, you can open up the rear ring using a button, It'll give you a bit more top speed, hoping it'll give you enough to overtake the car in front. Now I've realised I'm still in ninth. No, not anymore, not anymore. It's doing such a good qualifying there. Drop down to 10th, and I'll lose a few more on acceleration there, so 14th. 14th, can I hold on to 14th across the line? It's flat out from here on out. We managed to put up to 13th. 12th, we've got decent top speed on our car, and I think we even crossed the line in 10th. So this will be a fun one to try and get some points if we finish the race in the top 10 after lap 5. So having a look, oh, within 0.02 of a second between us and 11th. 12th not that far behind either. In fact, 10th, 11th, 12th and 13th within 1/10 of a second. Our teammate, also the 2003 Williams, Callisto Gadapresi, half a second slower and down in 16th, which is where we were expecting to qualify, I must admit. But a good lap. Remember, we're up amongst some of the bigger names. Maybe there's a chance at stealing some points this race. So, starting the race. Quick look around. It'll show you this at the start of each race. So you'll have a cameraman who's always recording you. These guys. This was obviously programmed, designed, developed before the COVID pandemic. So none of the guys around here are wearing face masks. Car setup is in park front, which means that whatever setup you use in qualifying, you have to use in the race, which is very difficult in mixed conditions. If you've got a dry track in qualifying, you go for a low downforce setup, and then it suddenly rains in the race. You've got to go for, you want better grip. You can't have that. You've got to try and run the race with that low downforce setting. You can turn that off in the settings, but that isn't as realistic. Of course, there are plenty of things that I've done in this round that isn't realistic. Now, we normally get a good start and make a position. It seems like we're going to do that again on the Red Bull. Nope, the Red Bull finally gets going. I'm going to push Schiffer round. Come on, Schiffer. And somehow we end up 8th, 9th. I've got to give the guy room. I've got much better acceleration in the early part of that straight, and it looks like I've made up positions again, and I'm in 8th. Now this is very impressive. Let's see if I can continue this across the rest of the race. Now those arrows you see are proximity arrows. If it's red, that means I've pretty much got someone right alongside me, and I should be wary of them. If they're white, it's okay. I just need to be aware that they're nearby and they might make a move. You can see how close they are, and already he's trying to get in. We have to leave him a bit of room. He forces us wide. We're slow. They're going to catch right up to us now. So, through the centre S's. And you see the Delago turn 3. This is one of the DRS zones in the actual F1 cars. But it seems that whilst 9th place Attia is trying to defend, he's lost ground to us. Now that's very good news, because that means we've got a bit of space. I'm burying the throttle through that as best I can. And get into slightly twistier turn 2. This is where downforce is needed. Now I've got the standard preset free balance, which is medium. You can fully customize your setups. That includes gearboxes and suspension. For me, I don't go in for that much. In time trials, you can try out other people's setups. I've done that a little bit on some of the other tracks just to try and find a setup that goes faster. Also, you'll find that some of the assists won't necessarily make you faster, some of them will actually make you slower. So the ultimate fast way of driving in this game is to learn to do it without the assists on. That obviously takes a while, traction control in particular. You need to be very smooth on the accelerator, otherwise you will find yourself spinning, particularly in the 2020 cars, which have a lot of torque. The tyres are grippy, you've got a lot of grip in those cars, but the amount of torque you get from those twin turbo hybrid engines really do mean you have to be careful on the accelerator. Looks like P8 will be the maximum I can get. Now hopefully I can stay in P3. I'm going to stick it up into rich mix now. Going to the final 2 laps. I think it said the car was dropping behind. The car behind us was dropping by about 3/10 of a lap. 3/10 of a second per lap, even.
Okay, gap ahead is 2.1 seconds.
2.1. It's possible I can get it down to under 1 in the next 2 laps, but realistically I'm not going to be overtaking them. .2010 car, I think that is. I think that's 2010 Mclaren. I haven't got a proper glimpse of it recently. Yes, I can tell that because of the shark fin on it. And of course, F1 fans will know exactly what I'm talking about. New people probably won't. But if you start inspecting the cars, you start looking at them closely, you will start to notice the subtle differences that are more than just the colours. Obviously, cars like the 2009 Brawn are very easy to tell, because they are mostly white with fluorescent yellow. The Ferrari is always red. Now, the 2 Benettons are slightly different shades, but you might not necessarily be able to tell them apart immediately. And yeah, you can see I'm not getting that within a second. In fact, Shifa is gaining time over us. Thankfully, we're keeping our guy behind us at a distance. Keeping Attia at a distance. Don't need to win by much, just need to win by a few tenths of a second. No, he's got past us. We are wide around that corner.
We need to stay on form.
In fact, we're driving very erratically at the end. I'm already in rich mix, so this will be whatever I can do to get past Lucas Rothmans in the 2004 Ferrari. We are closing, and not quite. 2003 Williams very fast in a straight line, under this setup at least, compared to Red Bull, which is normally very good on downforce. Aaron Barnes winning driver of the day there, but we got points. We finished in the top 10. Brilliant success for our team. So in 9th place we get 2 points for that. Oh, you can see it doesn't give a point for fastest lap. Or maybe fastest lap wasn't achieved in the top 10. No, it was. It's at 1:12.0 at the top. There we go. And less than 2 tenths behind. And we were faster down around a lap. And we were faster around a lap than Aaron Barnes, the guy who finished behind us. But yes, there we go. I'll stick it back to Facecam now. That was my F1 2020 Pro Showcase. It's worked this time. We managed to record the remaining 3 games. We'll see you later for some more stuff. I'm Sammy McLeod. You can find me on YouTube, right here, of course, Twitter, Facebook, and the like. See you around. See you soon.